What is up, dude? What's going on, man?
What's going on, man? How was vacation?
It was cool, man. Florida's Florida. I tell you what, the day after Christmas, and it's beautiful weather, man. Beautiful weather, and then came back, and the last 2 weeks was it was awful. It was awful. We had some tournaments come through, and man, I tell you what, there was a 2 week stretch there. My family came down. I don't think we got above 50.
Ooh.
And,
so they brought the cold weather from up north down.
They did, man.
Florida,
and it's all their fault.
bummer.
And it was miserable during the tournaments and everything else, but it was fun. I mean, it was good to get away. But I came back yesterday, and I didn't realize, man, there's a lot of damage going on here, man. I mean, I got trees down my yard, and I mean, good Lord, all up and down the main road, the trees are just done from the big snowstorm that they had.
That was from the one here just 2 weeks ago, maybe. It was a rough January around here. That's for sure.
I want to say hello to all the guys that showed up, man. Todd, what's up, man? We're going to be talking about the Bengals right off the bat, buddy. 100%, man. But we got a lot to talk about, man. It's been a while. I mean, as I said, it's been about a month since we've talked. Been on the show, and listen, gear this thing back up, bro. I've got a lot to talk about.
The boss is back in town, so that means we all got to get back to work.
That's right.
Blake is the only one who was able to stay at work and do his job the entire time that you're on vacation. Apparently, he's scared of you. Scared he's going to get fired. Or something.
I run a tight ship, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, you fire me, and all you're going to have left is Blake and Chunk. So.
Exactly, which those don't scream ratings.
Yeah.
So man, I'm excited to get this thing back going, guys. I mean, if you look at the top, we're gonna talk about it tonight, man. We got a lot of stuff to talk about. Some very busy sports stuff, and some good, some bad. And let's get right into it, man. Dude, the Bengals are going to the Super Bowl. How about that?
Okay, yeah, we played around on Facebook here a little bit, and we did our preseason picks, and Eric Siddiqui says the Bengals are going to win the AFC North, and we just trashed him. Not only did they do that they went and pulled 3 upsets on the road. They played every game.
Yeah.
No. Do they have to go to Vegas to play?
No, Vegas came to Cincinnati.
Okay, so all right, so they had that game at home, and just a team that's playing some darn good team football. I've said this before. If you put together a talented team, but they're too stupid to know that they're not good enough, I'll take that team.
I agree.
That's the.
So I was talking to Eric about this. Ironically enough, this Bengals team reminds me of the 89 49ers team that faced the Bengals in the Super Bowl. I know it sounds weird, but hear me out.
All right.
You had a young Joe Montana. Okay, I might compare Joe Burrow to Joe Montana. Let's just chill. But you have Joe Montana, right, playing the role, Joe Burrow playing the role of Joe Montana. You've got Jerry Rice and Jamar Chase, okay? Those guys. A young Jamar Chase reminds me of a Jerry Rice dude. I mean, the kid just reminds me of him. Okay, and then you have Roger Craig. Remember Roger Craig in the backfield?
Oh yeah, man. Yeah.
And so it reminds me of their running back too. I mean, it's just and the defense. The defense showed up. I mean, you had the 49ers defense was obviously led by Ronnie Lott. They don't have that power safety for the Bengals, but I mean, dude, their defense, showed up. I mean, it reminds me of the 89 49ers team. Very similar, man. Joe Mixon reminds me of Roger Craig, right?
Yeah.
And then Uzama, Uzama, whatever you want to call him. I mean, he's hurt, but I think he got a sprained MCL. He might be back for the Super Bowl.
Yeah. So I heard just a sprain, but that's a pretty good comparison. And if you're going to build a team and you're going to model a team after some team, the 89 49ers is a pretty darn good.
And Todd says worst offensive line ever in a Super Bowl. That's correct, but I do remember in the championship game, the 49ers actually beat the Giants that year. And Joe Montana, I think, was sacked like 6 or 7 times in that game too. So again, very similar parallels of the 89 49ers team. I just think, but you know what? Is there a more marketable, cooler quarterback out there right now than Joe Burrow? I don't think so, man.
No,
I love this kid.
I'm with you, and I've talked about this all season long. This new crop of young quarterbacks, and Mahomes, you think is the leader of that bunch, but you've got Joe Burrow and New England's quarterback that I'm drawing a blank on, Mac Jones.
Mac Jones. I would not want to be in the AFC. There's no chance. If you were Aaron Rodgers, listen, if you were Aaron Rodgers, okay, you're looking to leave Green Bay. There's no chance I would go to like maybe Denver, okay? I mean, I would stick in the NFC somewhere because, look, I mean, the NFC right now, I mean, the best you've got right now in the NFC is what? Matt Stafford? You know what I mean?
Yeah. And what San Francisco is doing, I like what they've got there. And everybody gives Garoppolo a hard time that he's not a great quarterback. You don't necessarily have to be a great quarterback. You have to work and become better.
You know, I was talking to a friend of mine. I brought this question, Sam, to a friend of mine. I don't remember a time to we had so many great young quarterbacks. Okay.
Yeah.
Like usually you have like 3 or 4. Dude, we've got like 6 or 7.
6 or 7, and that list could expand to 8 or 10.
Yeah, I mean, because you have
Tua in Miami.
Justin Fields out of Chicago. I mean, these
Fields,
guys are in,
guys
are in question. But I mean, you've got just out of the AFC, you got Joe Burrow, you got Herbert, right? You got Mahomes, you've got Josh Allen,
Mac Jones,
Jones. These 5 quarterbacks alone, I mean, they're going to be fighting each other for all their careers. And I mean, look, here's what got me. Like, we saw the AFC Championship game, which was the best championship game I've ever seen. Okay, it probably one of the best NFL games I've ever seen.
Yeah.
But you had Josh Allen versus Patrick Mahomes, and after that game, we were just stunned about amazing how fortunate we are to watch these quarterbacks play. But then Joe Burrow kind of sneaks up behind the door. It's like, wait a minute, you guys forgot about me. And Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes are sitting on the sidelines watching Joe Burrow play.
Yeah,
I love this team. Look, I'm not a Bengals fan, but this week, come the Super Bowl time, in 2 weeks, I'm going to be a fan. I hope they win it. I love this new team. I love this team.
I'm with you. I'm going to be pulling for the Bengals too, but man, it's kind of a bummer to almost say that because I enjoy what the Rams have going on too. I like that team that they've got to put together.
I don't like that. Okay, look, the Bengals are young. They didn't buy the team. Rams bought that team, right?
Yes,
they
did.
Mortgaged out the future. They were expected to be here. Mm-hmm. If you were the Bengals were 80-1 to win the Super Bowl this year. Okay, 80-1. Okay, wow. Everybody knew that it was cute after they won. After they beat the Raiders, you're like, okay, they almost choke job that game, okay, but they wound up advancing. They're like, okay, that's great. But Tennessee is going to take care of Cincinnati. You're the number 1 team, and they got to go to Tennessee and play them. Henry's coming back. Tennessee is going to take care of the Bengals. Story's over this year. Yep. And then you're like, and then they win. You're like, okay, that's even cuter.
That didn't happen.
You have zero chance in
no.
Kansas City.
You're the Cincinnati Bengals are not going to Kansas City and going to upset Patrick Mahomes, Tyreek Hill, tight end, drawing a blank on him.
Travis Kelce.
Kelce. That is just an offense built to score.
You're down 21-3.
Right. So you're down 21-3. Your defense is not playing amazing, and your offense isn't playing all that well either. But then they catch a little spark with that late touchdown in the first half.
Well, I think they kept the spark when Patrick Mahomes screwed up past that right at 5 seconds to go. They passed it to Tyreek Hill, and he doesn't score, and then instead of kicking the field goal, they try to get the touchdown and make it 28-3. They didn't get any points there. Actually, it was 21-10 at that point.
Mm-hmm.
And then they went into the locker room, instead of being down 28-10, which is decimating for a team, they were only down 21-10. And then the Chiefs got the ball back there, so they didn't kick the field goll.
Right.
And
then the Bengals get a defensive stop.
Yeah.
They're early. And it's some that Bengals defense came out in the second half and wanted to play.
Todd Patrick just broke news. Jim Harbaugh to return to Michigan per Adam Schefter. Okay.
Okay.
Well,
all right, Todd. Yeah.
We're going to get into that, because I want to talk about the Bears and their absolute ridiculous coaching choice. But we'll talk about that.
Yeah. So the Bengals, getting back to the Bengals there, it's that defense, like I said, came out in the second half and played some football. They gave up a field goal in the second half.
What I love about what the Bengals did in that game was, it was 21-10.
Yeah, 21-10, and they
21-10 at the half.
The Bengals, that defense then held Kansas City to only 3 points in the second half. That game tying field goal.
Okay, maybe I'm mistaken. Okay. Oh, you know what? Todd's right. I'm sorry. It was 21-3, because here's what happened.
Yeah.
Kansas City was stopped when they got the ball back at the half. After that first drive, and then Bengals came down and scored a touchdown, went 21-10, and then just turned on the afterburners. I'm sorry, Todd. You're exactly right. I was in a Mexican restaurant trying to watch this thing. So anyway, but
how's football in Spanish work out?
It was pretty interesting, but it was fun to watch, man. It was such a great game, man. And again, congratulations to the Bengals. But going back to the NFC game with the Rams and 49ers, 49ers actually, 49ers were winning this game. Jimmy Garoppolo screwed up again. I mean, this guy is going to be out of San Francisco. There's no chance he's going to be coming back.
He is.
Yeah. Oh, let me get back to the Bengals. The Bengals, what they did at the halftime adjustments that they made in the defense, they dropped back 8, and they rushed 3. And they said, because Mahomes was trusting his legs rather than his arm, he was scared to throw the ball. And you could see like this cover, this like basically the shell defense that Cincinnati did. And, they got 3 guys on 5, right? Against Mahomes. Yeah. Mahomes trying to, run the ball, and they kept on pushing him out to the sidelines. And Mahomes was flustered. I mean, if you look at overtime, the throws that Mahomes made in overtime, he looked like Jimmy Garoppolo.
Absolutely.
He looked awful.
Yes.
And,
yes.
I mean, so I guess the question is this, man. Is Patrick Mahomes overrated?
You've kind of been on this Jag for most of the season, since the preseason. As a player, a passer, I think if you take away some of his weapons, he may become a little more average. I think that those great targets that he has really help him out of some binds. So there could be something to be said for that. And this is an old team, and this team's going to start getting expensive. So let's see what happens if they can keep this team together. Because any good quarterback needs weapons, and I think in Mahomes' case, it may be that he relies on those weapons more than some other players, other quarterbacks.
If Mahomes was on Pittsburgh, would Mahomes be bringing Pittsburgh to 4 straight AFC Championship games and trying to go for the 3rd straight Super Bowl?
When you say Pittsburgh, I'm going to give you the caveat of Pittsburgh is Mike Tomlin. I think me and you could play for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and Mike Tomlin would motivate us to be some pretty darn good football players. That's kind of a strange example. All right, swap Favre and Mahomes, Rodgers and Mahomes. Swap those two. What are the records of Green Bay and Kansas City this season?
I think Kansas City has Green Bay's record. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I think, if you put Green Bay, if you put Aaron Rodgers with that talent, Aaron Rodgers would probably go undefeated. I'm serious. Kansas City would be undefeated today. I mean, there's no doubt about it. So, I mean, you give them Tyreek Hill, and then you give them Kelsey and everything else, man. I think he goes undefeated. I mean, it's just insane.
Yeah.
So, but Kansas City also, look, they improved their defense. They improved their offensive line. And that's kudos to the front office. But I think, look, Mahomes choked in the AFC Championship game. There's no way of saying it. There's no way of covering it up. He absolutely 100% choked that game away. Yeah. So, again, it brings the question now in his legacy. Is Mahomes' legacy going to be tarnished over these mistakes? Like, that's 2 years in a row, man. 2 years in a row, you get beat at home. That's not true. That's not true.
No, he's been to two straight Super Bowls.
Two straight Super Bowls, yeah.
But I think he didn't play a great game last year in the Super Bowl.
I think it's affected. I think his legacy is being affected.
Okay, maybe, but remember, I just told you how great of a coach that Tomlin is. He's being coached by Andy Reid. Andy Reid is a pretty darn good coach himself. So it's going to be on that coaching staff to say, look, we've got to work to improve on these things. If he's got it in his head that he wants to get better and eliminate his mistakes, he will. And we're going to get to it here in a minute. And I've already mentioned it. Tom Brady. Tom Brady was a mediocre to average quarterback coming out of the draft, and he's going to be
seventh round pick.
Yes, 199th. He was a compensatory pick in the seventh round, 199th pick. But it was him. It was he desired to get better, to be the best. Even I don't know. I don't know that he took the field and said, "I want to be the best," but he just became that because he kept working and evolved his game.
Well, again, I mean, we'll get into Tom Brady and his legacy and all that stuff, but we'll talk about that. But again, let's get back to the Super Bowl. Super Bowl opens up, guys. Rams favored by 3.5, and then the public bets them up to 4.5, and now I think it's dropped down to 4.
Man,
I'm gonna tell you something right now, man. You give me 4.5 and Joe Burrow, I'm taking the Bengals. Bengals, listen, they have covered 8 straight games.
Yeah.
You give me Joe Burrow and 4.5 points, I'm taking the Bengals all day long. In fact, I will be ventured to say, I think the Bengals actually pull this upset. I think the Bengals can win this game, man. At LA. LA is playing at home.
Yeah. Okay. Something I noticed while I was sitting and watching the Rams 49ers game. Those two teams do not like each other. They were beating the snot out of each other for 4 quarters. I think that the Rams have a little more of the killer instinct. I think they're a little more of the people eater type defense. I think Stafford has a better offensive arsenal than Burrow does by a little bit, not a lot, but it's not that close either. I want
a wide receiver this year than Cooper Kupp.
Right. My initial thinking in this is, and I'm basing this off of a lot of recency. When we were younger, we saw one good Super Bowl, and in the last 15 years, 20 years, we've been treated to a lot of very good, very tight, close Super Bowl games. I believe it's time for a Super Bowl blowout, and I think that this is the Rams, this tough Rams team versus a young Bengals team, looks to me like it's going to be a blowout. But watching that line move around makes me question it. I don't want to make a call just yet.
So we're going to talk about the Super Bowl, the actual picks next week. But in terms of look what the Bengals defense did to Patrick Mahomes in Kansas City. Okay.
Yeah.
I would say Kansas City's defense or offense is way better than the Rams offense. I do. I think so. I think, Mahomes, and then, with the better tight ends and receivers and everything else that they got going on, I think they have a better scheme too. But here's the deal. You put Cooper Kupp, which is the number one wide receiver, but the matchup of the Super Bowl, it's no question. The matchup of the Super Bowl is going to be Jamar Chase versus Patrick Ramsey. Okay. I can't wait for this matchup. They are going to go at it. Ramsey is going to follow Chase everywhere on the field it is. He's not going to just play one side of the field. Everywhere Jamar Chase is going to go, Ramsey's going to follow. I can't wait to see that. Okay. It is going to be awesome, which means, but the Bengals have T. Higgins, Boyd, Uzama. I mean, they also Joe Mixon, which is better than any of the Rams running backs. So I think the Bengals can go tap for tap. If it's a shootout, the Bengals can go tap for tap against the Rams. But it's going to be the defense, and I think the Rams have the better defense. But Joe Burrow, and you give these guys 2 weeks to kind of pick apart this thing, man. We've already seen the Rams. We've already seen Sean McVay get out coached in the Super Bowl. We've already seen it happen, right?
Yeah,
against the Patriots.
Right. Yep.
Could be the same thing here, man. Zach Taylor could outcoach Sean McVay. It's going to be interesting.
And I told you when we started this discussion that I think Cincinnati is too stupid to know that they're not supposed to be in the Super Bowl, and that's just one of those little X factors. And I can point to you half a dozen teams that have won championships in that way, being too stupid. The Boston Red Sox should have never came back from down 3 games to the Yankees. The Red Sox are the poster boys for that team that I'm talking about. They're too stupid to know that they're not supposed to win. And since this Cincinnati team with all these young kids may be in that same vein. So when that happens, you throw the numbers, you throw the X's and O's, you throw the stats, you throw the analytics, you throw it all out, and then these guys hammer it on the field. And something like that could keep it as to a close game too.
The over under in this game is 48.5. Okay, I think it's going to go under. I don't think it's going to be a big.
I do too.
I think it's going to be like a 24-21 game. It kind of feels like. I think the defenses do hold some of these drives and stuff like that. But again, I think it's going to be so much fun to watch these two go at it. Again, I can't wait to watch. I'm a defensive guy. I cannot wait to watch the matchup of Chase versus Ramsey. That is where I'm going to be watching. That's where I'm going to have my eyes. I will tell you, the Bengals offensive line is not blocking Von Miller and Aaron Donald. It's not going to happen.
Yeah. That's
Joe Burrow might get sacked 10 times in this game.
Is how mobile of a guy is Burrow? Can he get outside the pocket and create outside?
He's sneaky fast.
Okay, all right, and see, so that's what the Bengals are going to have to do. They're going to have to move him away from Miller and Darnold, and if they're looking to come at him and wait, he's not there, he's over here, then you're throwing the defense off. You're taking something away from them.
Yeah, there's a X factor I think we need to look at too. That from a Bengals defensive side is Reader in the middle. This guy has had like an Aaron Donald type production on the D line for the Bengals. This guy is an absolute wrecking ball, and he's getting double, triple teamed, and he's opening up space for the linebackers to come in and putting a lot of pressure on the quarterbacks, getting these quarterbacks to throw off timing and everything else. But this guy Reader in the middle, who's the nose tackle for the Bengals, you watch out for this guy, man. He is blowing the offensive lines up, man. I'm super impressed with it, man. Again, we're going to get more into the Super Bowl, but anyway, I just want to kind of talk about it. We're going to have a
Super Bowl show next week, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, we're going to do a complete Super Bowl show, but anyway, this.
Right, but I'm with you. I'm excited to see these two teams. I like these two teams.
New blood,
and yes, the new blood. I love it. And go Bengals.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be exactly. I'm going to be rooting for the Bengals. Sam, let's turn a little bit more serious to this. We're going to take a bunch of time on this. Brian Flores filed a lawsuit with the NFL about basically racial discrimination regarding him being fired in Miami and also obviously being used as a token for teams like the Giants, and getting these fake interviews basically to quote unquote facilitate and check the box for the Rooney Rule. Let's get to the racial thing last. I want to talk about the Miami Dolphins situation. This is terrible. The Miami Dolphins situation, to me, is much more egregious. The fact of the matter is, Stephen Ross, who's the owner of the Dolphins, told Brian Flores, I'll give you $100,000 if you tank games. Okay? They were tanking for Tua to get more draft picks and come up to the draft. This, to me, is...
And he even told him, don't worry, you have a signed contract.
If
you don't worry about losing. You have a contract.
Here's the deal. These hypocritical sports writers should be all over the story.
Absolutely. Yeah.
This is what Pete Rose is not in the Hall of Fame for, because they question the integrity of the game. Yeah. If this is true, the NFL should have already had investigators in the offices of Miami talking to Steven Reeder and everybody else what's going on. If they're throwing games intentionally, listen, it's completely different back then. You have DraftKings, you have FanDuel, you've got the betting public that are putting millions, billions of dollars on these games. And if the Miami Dolphins are accused of throwing games intentionally, the NFL is going to be in huge trouble.
This to me sounds like, or seems like, where there's smoke, there's fire, and I see a lot of smoke coming out of this right now. So it seems like a fire. If this is true, Reeder has to be forced to sell that team. Period. The end.
Yes.
Correct. The integrity of the game, the integrity of the sport. Why we're doing this? I mean, if it's one thing if a team comes out and says, I don't think we have it this year, and hey, maybe we end up pretty high up the draft board. Cool. We know, and say we're in a rebuild. We're gonna try and stockpile some draft picks. But that's not what happened here.
No,
it seems like he said I want you to lose these games.
Yes, he said, listen, take a vacation, do what you got to do. You've got to tank these games. And you know what? Brian Flores, I believe, wasn't fired because of his color. It wasn't fired because the GM was black anyway, right? I don't think he was fired because of a race. I think he was fired because he won. I know that sounds crazy, but he did not do what Stephen Ross told him to do. And in that turn, being 25 and 26, I think it was his record overall.
24 and 25, I think is what I looked up just a little bit ago. But and this Miami team, look at what they did this season. They were mid-season. They were in trouble. And that team came back, and all you heard was that this is Flores' influence on the team, and how he's and that he was building a very, very good defense.
This to me is got to be the story of the year. Okay, if the NFL, the biggest sporting battleship there is, has point shaving and tanking and telling coaches to not win on purpose, this has got to be the story of the year. I'm sorry, but I don't understand why these writers are not getting on this. The media is not making this a bigger deal. This has to be front and center. And I'm gonna tell you something, man. The writers are afraid not to write about something like this because it's going to affect their careers, but that's hypocrisy, man. They've got to make this a big deal. This is a terrible thing. Now, from the racial standpoint, okay, I was arguing with some people online about this, and I don't want to get too involved because we're not trying to make this a political thing, but at the end of the day, you've got 70% of the players that are black. You've got one coach out of 32 right now, currently in the NFL, that is black. Okay, we're talking about the good old boy network, and I'm not going to use Brian Flores, per se, but what he's bringing up, if you don't pay attention about the good old boy network and everything else that the NFL continues to do, I bring up the fact that John Gruden was fired because of some sensitive statements that were in emails, and how he was the only one who was put out because the good old boy network was trying to all pile on John Gruden. Let's look at the 300,000 emails that were said amongst Dan Snyder and all these other owners.
Hold on.
John Gruden doing this.
I want to ask you a question here real quick. In the 3 years that Brian Flores was coach of the Miami Dolphins, how many Miami Dolphins games did you watch?
I watched them beat the Patriots twice.
Okay. All right. Okay. I have never. In 3 years, I've never sat down watching a Dolphins game, and so when I heard this Brian Flores thing, is the first time that I realized that Brian Flores was a black guy. I was like, wait. I swear that is the God's honest truth. I did not know Brian Flores was black.
I knew
until today, and I don't.
See, I knew Brian Flores from the Patriots.
Okay,
staff.
all right. That's and you know you're way bigger on players and coaches and all that stuff than I am. But so I'm a fan. I'm watching these games, and I'm watching. As I told you, I watched Miami climb the standings, and I'm like, man, the Dolphins could do something, and this defense is good. These guys seem to like playing for this Brian Flores guy, and so I don't think he was fired because of his race, and we covered that. His race is coming into question with what Bill Belichick screwed up and did, and how the New York Giants are accused of circumventing the Rooney Rule. And Flores himself says that he's not a huge fan of the Rooney Rule. And I looked at the number, and I'm not 100% on it, but it's somewhere in the neighborhood of 30 out of like 165 head coaching vacancies since the Rooney Rule went into effect have gone to minority coaches, and I don't like that. These guys are out there. I don't care who you are. If I own a team, I want the best general manager I can find. I want the best coach I can find. I want the best quarterbacks coach, offensive coordinator, defense. I want the best that I can find. Bring them to me. And so if your general manager is only interviewing the two minority candidates that he has to comply with the Rooney Rule, then that's on him. He's not looking to find the best. I want the best. I believe Mike Tomlin is the best head coach in the league right now.
No, I wouldn't say right now. No way. I mean, he's one of the best. There's no doubt. I mean, historically speaking, he's been. He's been with the Steelers for like 20 years. Which is fine. But I mean, Jeremy Baker says, "Hey, on the other side, is there a black candidate you would rather see as a head NFL?"
Leftwich.
Byron Leftwich. Exactly. That's what I want to say. Yeah.
Right. If you had a head coaching opening this year and you did not bring in Byron, the only reason you should not have brought Byron Leftwich in to interview is because someone hired him before he came to interview with your team.
Yeah. Well, here's the deal. Like you said, look, the fact of the matter is the Giants are going to be in big trouble. Okay. They obviously tokenized Brian Flores just to fill that Rooney Rule thing, because here's the deal. It's already proven that they already hired Daboll as their head coach. Okay, Daboll as their head coach from the Buffalo Bills, and they had to hire. They had to interview their second minority coach. Again, the Rooney Rule, since it's been in place, there has been less black coaches because of the Rooney Rule than before. Okay, so here's the deal. I heard it said like this. We could say this. The way you become an NFL head coach, guys, is you've got to work your way up through the NFL coaching ranks. Okay, that means you start $20,000-$30,000 a year,
and that's some of the
coach.
That's some of the stuff that they're having an issue with. That the Rooney Rule has been expanded to include some of your coordinators in front office positions. But again, I find me the best.
Correct. I don't care. Their skin color should not matter on talent. Okay.
Yep.
The Bears just hired their general manager. His name is Ryan Poles. He's an African American man. He was a offensive line guy with the Chicago Bears. He grew up through the Kansas City ranks. We chose him because of what the Kansas City culture has grown up to him to be. Mm-hmm. And the NFL does do something really well, I think, is they gave Kansas City a third-round compensatory pick because the Chicago Bears hired a minority general manager from their farm, okay, from their
Yeah.
ranks, which
Yeah.
they rewarded Kansas City with that pick, which I think is a great thing because look, here's the deal. Let's just be honest. Sam, I played sports. You played sports. We're all on teams. I had teams that were, a mix of all colors and races and what have you. But let's just be real. We're comfortable with people who look like us, talk like us, and act like us, right?
Right.
You have
Right. You can't.
70% of
Right. I work with people today of all races, creeds, genders, sexual orientations, everything. That's fine, and I love everything that you can get and learn from these different cultures. But if you are not saying I am more comfortable around people who look like me, you're lying.
You're lying.
I don't. Yes. You're lying.
And that's what,
absolutely.
And I think that's what the players' frustration is because you have, again, like we said, 70% of the players are black. Now, listen, I heard it like this on ESPN. Brian Flores compared the NFL as plantation owners. I think that's way out of bounds. Okay, this is not slavery. Okay, these guys and these players are making millions and millions and millions of dollars. Okay, they're getting paid very well to play a game, play a sport. I think he went way out of bounds, and I thought he lost a lot of credibility when he starts comparing the NFL into plantations. Okay, I think you just discredited yourself when you start saying stuff like that. Okay, should things be changed? Yes. What's the answer? Their answer is, they're talking about the owners. None of the owners are of color except for Shad Khan. Okay, I mean, none of the owners are all these good old boy white guys. But you know what? Here's the deal. The only way to change that is you got to buy them out. Okay.
Yeah.
The owners are not going to get rid of their teams.
And where is that wealth in the African American community? It's there's not a lot of it to say. And then you don't have a lot of owners looking to sell their teams anyway. Maybe Miami is going to be selling their team.
Well, I mean, you've got sports. You've got guys like Magic Johnson, who's a great businessman. You've got
Oprah Winfrey could pull the money together.
But I mean, they're not going to invest in teams.
Dang it! Ted Leonsis has a very large minority interest in Washington sports entertainment.
Yeah, well, I mean, the owner of FedEx, one of the owners of FedEx is African American. I mean, he could easily do it. He's trying to buy out Dan Snyder. But again, the NFL owners, they grew up owning these teams many, 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 many years ago. They're passed down to families and everything else. They're not getting rid of these teams. So again, something does have to change, though.
Well, I'll tell you what. It's when you. I never liked the Rooney Rule, and Brian Flores said what very few people will say about the Rooney Rule, and I never liked it from the beginning. I thought you're just going to say, all right, well, you're just going to interview a token minority and be on with it, unless this guy absolutely wows you. How about this? Your next, the NFL institutes a rule, your next offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, quarterbacks coach, head coach opening must go to a minority.
I don't think so.
Okay, it's
because here's the deal. Because then
wait. Oh, hold on. But the reason I'm saying that is because put some of these. Let some of these minority coaches have a chance, and then develop their own coaching trees and see what happens. It's not going to happen. In 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, it's going to take a generation of work.
Sam, it's got to be the best qualified candidate. Okay, and
I want that too.
And I think the NFL has done themselves a disservice by putting the Rooney Rule in place because, again, it's forcing token candidates like this. No one's taking them seriously. Okay, they're only checking these boxes, and it's sad. Okay, it's sad. And I think, again, you have to choose. Not a head coach is not just a head coach of football. He's supposed to be a leader of men. And I've had African American guys in my life that have influenced my life, and they're great leader of men, and has molded me.
Yes,
you know what I mean. And so again, a head coach. There's plenty of guys out there I can probably list. I think would be great NFL head coaches. But again, they just got to be given the opportunity and not just be used as a token. I think Brian Flores brought that to the limelight, and it needs to change.
watching what Brian Flores did specifically this year with the Dolphins, and then they get fired. I was like, why are they not beating down Brian Flores' door?
Yeah.
If you're Minnesota,
Right.
or the Giants to get you your new coach.
Yeah. Here's a guy I would love to see coach in the NFL. I think it'd be great. Deion Sanders. I would love to see Deion Sanders coach a team in the NFL.
He'll get there. He will get there.
It would be so much fun. All right, let's move on. Tom Brady.
Yep.
Tom Brady has retired. The greatest.
Okay, hold on. Can I stop you for 1 second?
Yep.
My drive to write my articles sometimes dies out. I'm about halfway through writing my Tom Brady article right now, and I just want to say this. Don't say it as we're talking about him. Do not call Tom Brady the GOAT. If you use the term GOAT, you're lazy, you're disrespectful, and you're some 20-something who thinks you're cool. We're adults. We're grown people. We can say, I've got the time. I can say, Tom Brady is the greatest of all time. You won't hear me saying it, and I don't want you to either. We're the adults. Let's lead the pack, and let's show people how it's done.
I think I said greatest.
Greatest. That's what you can do. He's the greatest. People.
Brady.
People. I've heard people refer to a Reuben that they had as the GOAT. So it's you can't compare a sandwich and a quarter. You can't call a sandwich and a quarterback the same thing.
Let me say this: Tom Brady is the greatest quarterback to ever play the game.
Yes,
he is not the greatest player to play the game. I'm telling you, I will make that argument to the death.
Who are you going to go to? Who are you going to go with?
Listen, okay? Look, Tom Brady obviously is the greatest quarterback. I think he's one of the greatest leaders. Mm-hmm. But athleticism wise, he's not the greatest player to ever play the game. I would put Walter Payton ahead of Tom Brady as the greatest player. Dude, he did it. He did it all. He ran, he blocked, he caught. It takes a lot more athleticism from being a Walter Payton than it did a Tom Brady. Yeah. Tom Brady has the greatest mental game in everything. Barry Sanders is another one.
Barry Sanders, Jim Brown. Give Sanders, Jim Brown, Walter Payton a career that spans 22 years now, I believe.
Emmitt Smith was the greatest running back. I mean, he's got the greatest.
There's a lot. But you have to, in football, you have to divide it out and say greatest quarterback, greatest receiver, greatest tight end, greatest defensive back. Because all these things are very specialized.
People are trying to put him as the greatest athlete ever to play sports. There's no chance. No chance.
Michael, right? It has to be Michael Jordan.
I don't think so, man.
You don't think so? Comparing basketball to football to baseball to hockey to soccer to auto racing. I mean, they're all different things. You can't take Tom Brady and put him in a NASCAR and he's going to win 7 championships.
Well, Jeremy Baker hit it. Bo Jackson was the greatest athlete I've ever seen.
Oh, I forgot about Bo.
Bo Jackson did it all.
And I agree. Deion Sanders, you could make an argument for him.
Sanders, you could say
you're dual sport athletes. There's some.
I mean, and you look at Michael Phelps, what he did with the Olympics and everything else. I mean, you could go on and on and on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Simone Biles is another one that's just head and shoulders above.
Simone Biles, her latest Olympic downfall is. But who dominated their sport the best? But Todd, the greatest athlete is definitely not. Michael Jordan dominated. I think that Michael Jordan dominated NBA more so than I would say Tom Brady dominated the NFL. Now I know how many rings that they have. I know how many rings, but you got to understand, Michael Jordan was one of 5. Tom Brady is one of 22.
But see, I think I'd almost put Brady over Jordan because it took Jordan, whether it was time to learn or time to build and get that team around him. Brady did it from the jump.
Woods is another one.
He did. Brady did it from game 1 to his last game. except for losing that last game. There's
he did it longer.
And his success was longer. He more championships. Jordan had to fight through that Pistons team there of the late 90s, late 80s, early 90s.
Yeah, the bad boys.
The bad boy Pistons. When he finally got over that hump, I think that Jordan was. I think this is a very, very difficult discussion. Because we're going over all different sports,
but the question was asked, who dominated their sport? Tiger Woods dominated golf for 20 years, and I mean, he changed the game. Like Tiger Woods literally changed the game of golf.
Yeah, he did.
Golf courses literally were torn up all across the world because he dominated golf courses like no one's ever seen. They didn't tear up NBA courts, okay? They didn't raise the hoop heights, okay? Or anything like that. They literally changed the way golf has been played because of Tiger Woods. And, I mean, it's incredible. So, yeah, I mean, it's a great discussion.
But
if you put the top four, let's say this, if you put the top four athletes on Mount Rushmore, mine would have to be it would have to be Tom Brady, obviously. Okay.
Yeah.
You have to put him up there.
Yep.
Michael Jordan. Tiger Woods.
Yep.
And I would say Wayne Gretzky.
That's if anybody who's going to argue those four, you're just nitpicking at that point. Those are four greats. I'm trying to think if there's anybody from the baseball world that you could I just don't think that you can have the success and the longevity in baseball that you can.
Yeah, I mean,
Nolan Ryan played baseball for a long time and played very good baseball for a long time, but he was not a champion multiple times.
Yeah, I think from the athletes that changed the games more so than and I would say feared. Those four, you had to change every game.
They changed it. They were feared and they dominated, and they're champions. And
everybody had to bring their best stuff to beat these guys. So I mean, look, Tom Brady, the greatest NFL quarterback to ever put on a uniform, absolutely, no question.
I saw something today. It was Troy Aikman's career versus an era of Tom Brady's career, and how better Brady was versus Aikman. And then it was the same. Favre's career versus this era of Tom Brady. Joe Montana's career versus this era of Tom Brady, and his a section of his career was better than all three of these quarterbacks' careers.
It's crazy. Listen, Tom Brady has more Super Bowls than the Patriots and the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah. And so, I mean, in his longevity, in his multiple championship runs, and even this year, there were people cheering when Tom Brady, I don't have to watch Tom Brady in the Super Bowl. Thank goodness. Yeah. I was the opposite. I didn't like him early in his career, but then when I started to realize this could be the best quarterback ever, I want to see it as much as I can see it on the biggest stages it can be on.
So I'm going to go back to two different times that Tom Brady was very, very fortunate, and again, luck has a part of greatness. Okay, it just does. Okay. I go back to the Tuck rule, back when the Raiders forced Tom Brady to fumble the ball in the snow. They got the ball back. Adam Vinatieri kicks the field goal. They go to the Super Bowl. They win the Super Bowl that year.
That could have been so. If
he shouldn't have been in the Super Bowl.
If that Tuck rule didn't happen, the era of Brady, or what he became, may not have ever happened.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So that part of his career got very fortunate, and everybody knows that he fumbled the freaking football, no doubt about it. I mean, he just the referees, gave him the game, gave him the Super, Super Bowl. So that's one Super Bowl that was basically handed to him. They worked for it, but I mean, he was fortunate to get that ring. The second time is when they played the Seahawks, and they didn't run Marshawn Lynch at the 1 yard line.
Yes.
And
Yes.
you know
yes.
what I mean?
Yes.
And Russell Wilson throws the interception on the goal line, and the
Uh-huh.
Patriots win that game. That's another game, a Super Bowl ring that should not be a part of Tom Brady's legacy. So in us, I mean, at worst, you know, we can say there coulda, woulda, shoulda, but he really should have 5 rings, not 7. And then questioning him, is he the greatest NFL quarterback at that point? You know what I mean? So,
and something else I like to think about when thinking about Brady's greatness is that how many of those Super Bowls were won by his kicker. You know, he gets the ball to 20. He has to move 40, 45 yards and set his kicker up. And, you know, instead of having to lead the drive that scores the touchdown. But you know, then you can still say, well, that's you know, he kept them in position that all they needed was the field goal. So I mean, there's a lot to it. He didn't have the biggest arm. He wasn't the most mobile, but he was the smartest. And I just the way he could pick a defense apart was amazing.
And his ambition to win. I mean, I think there's going to be many psychology books written on Tom Brady's just focus in his knack just to win. I mean, he did everything to win. And also, too, he's got this quirky TB12 thing going on. You know, obviously his whole body, mind, and spirit thing he's got, you know, going on.
Yeah.
But, I mean, let's look like this. I heard Russell Wilson say this. The amount of money that you make as a professional athlete, you need to invest back 10% to your body, okay? Sam, how easy would it be for you and I to be able to hire a professional chef to have a complete menu every single day? All you had to do is walk in the kitchen, eat, and then go back, work out, go back to the kitchen, eat. That's already been prepared for you. Go back. That's not a true life that we live, man. You know, these athletes have that ability to do that.
But you have to have that drive and desire to do that and to get there. I read something when I was doing some of my researching into Tom Brady, and when he first arrived at Patriots field, their training camp or something like that, met Bob Kraft, and he says, "Hi, Mr. Kraft. I'm Tom Brady. I'm going to be the best quarterback the Patriots have ever had." Yeah. At this time, he was the back. He was actually on when he was drafted. He was projected as the 4th string quarterback, but went on to start that year. He worked himself up to get in position when something happened to Bledsoe to take over the reins. It's like you said. It's the psychology that's going to be about it. The myth that surrounded the man. How he did it, his drive. It's so many things to marvel at with Tom Brady, and all the haters. That's fine. Dislike him, but for me personally, I loved seeing the greatness. I love seeing great things happen.
Yeah,
I want to see. Yeah. I want to see the best in their game playing their best.
Right.
That's how I am with
all right, let's move on, man. Let's really start throwing the daggers out, man. Look at this. This is what we got to deal with now in Washington.
I before the show, this wasn't originally on our topic list, and I said, we're not going to talk about this. I said, I've been stewing on this. This has been eating me all day long. Okay, Washington Commanders. Good name, bad name. It's fine. Again, not getting into the political anything about how it had to happen, but it happened. Here it is. It's the Commanders. And so, as I was thinking about this stuff today, I do not have an NFL team that I root for. I am no huge fan like you are of the Bears, or Blake is of his Texas teams, or Jermaine. We need to tell Jermaine that football is played on Sundays as well, not just Saturdays watching Alabama.
Oh, you mean Jeremy Baker?
Jermaine, you sure it's not Jermaine?
It's Jeremy.
Someone asked, "Are you?" I swear. Okay, what's just me not reading? All right, Jeremy, it's just because I can't read, not because I don't know who you are. So here is the chance How many times in sports does a team, does a franchise get to absolutely reinvent itself? Not just a rebuild or changing your jersey. You are totally reinventing yourself. And so I'm sitting here. I watched it. I watched it live on the Today Show.
Yeah, you called me so pissed off.
How do you screw this up so badly? And I thought, and so as I'm sitting there, and I figured it out. It is because of the way that the Tanya Snyder, the ownership of the Washington Commanders, treats their fans, charging them for preseason. The Washington Redskins team stores, the abysmal rates that they charge for parking. It's Washington fans, you are being bent over and have to take it from this team, from this owner. They don't care about you. You're handing them your money time after time after time after time. So as I was thinking about this, and here I am, you have a chance to convince me, to bring me into the fold. Your franchise is anew. And what do? You crap the bed. They literally, this could have been, it could have been great. It could have been amazing. There could have been a concert and fireworks and a big video screen, and you want to play some tribute homage to the military. Where are they? You've got Craig Melvin sitting in a director's chair, and Doug Williams. Doug Williams makes the announcer, and Jason Wright doesn't want to say it. Doug Williams doesn't really want to say it, and Allen doesn't even want to be there. That's what you're doing. Anybody watching, if you didn't see it, just go to YouTube, and search Commander's announcement. It's a 1 minute 27-second video. You don't even have to watch that much. Watch 20 seconds, and you will see how abysmal this was.
Sam,
it couldn't have been worse.
Andrews Air Force Base is no more literally than maybe 10 miles from this. I
don't even think. I think it's one exit back down 495.
It's nothing. Okay, so they could have literally brought planes, the military. They could put this in Annapolis. They could have gone on a battleship in the Navy Yard, and you're gonna be calling Commanders. Okay, I mean that has more of a Navy tone to it. You could have done this on a battleship. You could have made a big spectacle out of this. They've had 2 years, dude. They knew about this announcement. They knew that this name was going to be picked. They bought the URL for Washington Commanders 2 years ago. They knew that this was going to be the name. They get on today's show. They get on the Today Show and they crap the bed. I think people are upset more about the reveal of the name than the name itself.
That's where I am. That's totally where I am. Like I said, how many new fans? How many people that were fans of the Washington football team yesterday? They're still going to be fans of the Washington Commanders today. But how many new fans did you bring in?
Zero.
Are you thinking zero?
They embarrassed themselves once again as a franchise. Dan Snyder and his incompetence. And he continues
just
to
when you think that they can't go any lower, they do.
They do 100%. Now, with all that being said, the Commanders. I'll say this: I'm not a fan of it. I think there could have been better names. And let me say this: I'm not a fan of them changing their name, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
But here's the deal: they just blew it. But I'll say this: the uniforms.
Jeremie. I'm reading it right now. I always thought it was Jermaine. Jerm. Yep. No, it's Jeremy.
It's juice. Yeah,
I know it's juice, but man, Jeremy. I mean, how do you not know how to spell your own name, Jeremy? Jeremy. Yeah. What a shame, man. I'm sorry, Jeremy. I'm sorry. I've mispronounced your name. I'm sorry. I've thought you're the wrong person. I'm sorry that you spell your name wrong, man.
But here's the deal: the white uniforms. They look like the Cardinals. The maroon uniforms, they look like basically Virginia Tech write-offs, And if you look at the black uniforms are fly. They are fire.
Those look good. I like those, and I'm looking at it right now, and just the font with it kind of almost looks like a stencil. That looks great. And so this is what I said. When you have the chance to reinvent yourself, but they just had to say, "Oh, we've got to be burgundy and gold. We've got to be We've been a burgundy gold. We got to be the burgundy and gold." No, why? I mean, that black and gold looks great.
Yeah. Well, I tell you put that underneath the lights, and you get the black jerseys out, man. That is going to be
one of the coolest things I've ever seen in sports. In a few colleges have done this, but the first one I think I remember seeing was Louisville when they did a blackout. And they pull that they have that aerial shot. And there's just one quarter of the stadium that's just black. Everybody in their black shirts, jerseys, everything. Imagine doing that on a Monday night football game against the Eagles, against the Giants. The team wears those black jerseys, and you call it a blackout, and you have all the fans, but. It could have been better. It could have been better. It should have been better.
It should have been better. Yeah, the fans of DC deserve it. I mean, after the crap that they haven't won in 26 years, man. It is actually 30 years, dude. The last Super Bowl they won was 1992.
This is all in my article that's in the process of being posted. So, I have lived in the Washington D.C. area for 34 years. The exact number I don't have. Their winning percentage in those 34 years that I've lived here, 44%.
Oh,
I want to say it's something along about 245, 303, and 2 in the time that I've lived here.
Wow.
And they won a Super Bowl while I've lived here.
Wow,
there were some good teams in the 90s that since then
they're a disaster. And again, the fans deserve better. I will say this: Muriel Bowser from the mayor of DC basically said, "Oh, now we're making the right steps. Now we get a new name. Now we need a team back in DC." Why, Muriel Bowser? Let me tell you something. Why would DC? Why would Dan Snyder bring this team back to DC when you're constantly putting up mandates and everything else that's been going on in DC? There's no chance. If I was the owner of the Redskins, there's not a chance, or whatever, Commanders there's not a chance I'm taking my team into that hostile political area. No chance.
There's been some talk that for a couple of years about moving out of Raljon and moving back to DC. But I've recently heard Virginia trying to get themselves in the mix.
Well, they are Leesburg area, but you know what? Here's what the Chicago Bears are moving the Soldier Field to Arlington Heights, which is outside Chicago, and they're freaking out. So, city of Chicago. Why would, in God's creation, would the Chicago Bears stay in the city of Chicago like that under a lease?
Yeah, I'm sure they're paying outrageous taxes and everything too.
Exactly. No thanks. No thanks.
Yeah. Man, and watching this past Sunday, seeing SoFi Stadium in Los Angeles, that place is a palace, man.
In the middle of a dump.
Okay, but it was amazing. And all right. This may be one of a handful of times you'll ever hear me talk about Super Bowl halftime shows. Are you pumped for this year's Super Bowl halftime show?
I actually am.
Eminem, Snoop Dogg, Dr. Dre, Mary J. Blige, a couple other people.
100%.
Man, this is us. This is our era.
This is our era. Exactly. They're bringing back
great.
Gen X music, man. Bring it all day long.
Right. And as tied to Los Angeles as these artists are, with the exception of Eminem, I guess. But they're going to bring it. This one is going to rival Prince, and it's going to rival U2. So those are the two best I've ever seen, and this one is going to be up there.
Prince by far is the number one halftime show I've ever seen, behind Michael Jackson's 1996 show. I think Michael Jackson was 1993 it was amazing.
Yeah, okay, all right, that was good.
But yeah,
U2 in 2002.
Tom Petty too. Tom Petty.
Oh yeah, Tom Petty was great. But U2 in 2002, just after September 11th.
And who can forget the Janet Jackson? Who can forget the Janet Jackson wardrobe malfunction? That was a good one.
That one's been watched more than probably any of the others. But that was a pretty good one. So. All right. Okay. Wow. That was a very, very far off the version of Super Bowl.
Let me tell you a funny story. Back in early '90s when the Chronic CD came out for the Dr. Dre, or this is back in tape. We were in the Outer Banks in North Carolina, and I went to the store, and I bought the Chronic. I brought the Chronic tape, and my mom was driving, and she's like, hey, what'd you buy? I was like, I bought this awesome tape. She goes, okay, and I was like, let me listen to it. And
there is 0% chance that your mom knew what Chronic meant.
I told her, I said, this is a tape that I bought. And of course, the very first song on the Chronic CD or the tape happened, man. It's just vulgar as all can be. And you just hear him, talking about hoes and everything else. My mom stopped the car, slapped the crap out of me, took out the tape, threw the tape out the window, and threw me out. Told me to walk home. Wow.
If it wasn't for the music, the music rights playing on our podcast and stuff, I'd put some Chronic on right now.
Oh, I'm a huge Chronic fan. I mean,
that's just amazing.
It's probably one of the greatest albums ever made.
Mm-hmm.
By far.
Yeah. It's one of those ones that changed what music was. When you change what happens with music, then you're in the pantheon. And the Chronic definitely did that.
No doubt. All right, let's finish up here. NASCAR, man. Daytona 500 is coming up in February. I think it's 16th is coming through. I was down in Daytona the entire time.
Wait. So we got this weekend with no football. Next weekend is the Super Bowl. Then it'll be the weekend after that is NASCAR. Or is it 2 weeks after?
No, it's next weekend.
The week after the Super Bowl. Okay, great.
Yeah. Right. So and so the next gen cars came out, man. They actually look pretty good, dude. They drafted well. I'm actually a fan. What I'm not a fan of is what NASCAR's doing. I think next weekend or the weekend before that. I think it's this weekend, if I'm not mistaken. But they're at the
Busch Clash.
No, dude, they're at.
Is that this weekend? Should the Busch Clash be the weekend before Daytona? 2 weeks before? 2 weeks before, yeah.
Dude, they're at LA Coliseum on a quarter-mile track paved, and they're racing 23 cars at the LA Coliseum.
Hold, I have a question.
A quarter-mile track, dude. That's the same track we would run at a high school.
I have a question. Call me, please.
Yes, sir, Sam Kales.
Why?
I don't know. Because it's Super Bowl week. And NASCAR wants to dip their, next cars,
Okay. And with everybody tooling around there, and you get some, you put some eyeballs on YouTube. I think that you're going to tick the NFL off by doing that.
Well,
don't step on the Giants on the Dragon's tail there.
Well, they're doing it, and again, NASCAR's being NASCAR. But let me say this, man, and we're not gonna talk about NASCAR too much because I think NASCAR has destroyed themselves. What's the over under of NASCAR races you're going to watch this year? Is it 0.5?
No, it's got to be 0. Okay. Number of NASCAR laps I watch this season. I might tune in. So this is not the Busch Clash weekend. I always like the Busch Clash. I might tune that in, just to see what it's going to be about. And if you're not getting me, then you won't get me all year long. Daytona 500 used to be appointment viewing. I would make the same spread for Daytona 500 that I would for the Super Bowl, snacks and the nachos and the buffalo chicken dip and everything. I would do that for the Daytona 500. Haven't done it in 10 years. It's sport has just really hurt itself. And I did this last year. I hijacked your show almost every week last year, talking about how what was going on with Formula One.
Yep.
They've moved into a more competitive balance. You're going to see, as great as the Formula One racing was last year, it's going to be better this year.
I could name every starting driver back in the day who was going to be racing in the Daytona 500. I could not tell you probably 10 drivers.
Not me either.
Seriously. I mean, that's how bad it is. Is Rusty Wallace still driving?
I don't know.
You know what I mean?
There it is. There's my Ernie Irvin.
Ernie
Irvin.
Mark Martin here. God. Yeah.
And I got it. Look at this, man. I've even got the Ernie Irvin when he drove a Pepsi car.
Oh my God.
That was a Bush series car, I do believe.
I mean, that's what
beautiful
NASCAR
is that car, man. How beautiful is that car right there? The Monte Carlo is just a beautiful machine.
We'll have to get Brian Donati on to talk about and preview the Daytona 500. But if you look at the next gen cars, they're starting to make it a little bit more body styled of what the manufacturers look like. So it's actually pretty good. You have the Mustangs, the Camaros, and the Toyota Camrys. So it looks pretty good. So I will say this. The NASCAR is making a move in the right direction with car body style. Next gen cars look great. They tested pretty good. It's a little slower speeds this year at Daytona, but hey, if it packs them up and we get a little exciting racing, I'm all for it.
And we had a pretty good time at the Daytona International Speedway back in the day, didn't we?
We had a blast. Yeah,
it was 1995. You've still got the scar on your arm, don't you?
I do have a scar on my arm.
He's got a scar on his arm from hanging off of the fence, waving his cowboy hat as Dale Earnhardt drives by. I've got the picture of it. It's the Dale Earnhardt's number 3, and Greg's waving his cowboy hat. He scratches his arm across the top of the fence. For that was great. So we watched most of qualifying between turns 3 and 4. And then we just decided to drive over to this is qualifying for the Pepsi 400 in July at Daytona. So we're in the infield watching qualifying. So we drive over and we're sitting in between turns 1 and 2. Qualifying's over. We go to get out, and so we're swinging back around, and we're out toward where the back stretch is now. And they've got the gate open.
I'm like, do it, man. Let's go.
Bringing the ambulance and the fire trucks and everybody back inside. I'm sitting. Here I am in my 1991 Ford Tempo. Yes. Looking straight at the backstretch of Daytona International Speedway. And I said, I can hit it and we'll be on a track. We will go to jail for sure, but we will have this. Oh man, I think about it every now and then. Should I have done it? What would have happened? I would have totaled that car for sure. There's no way it would have. We would have.
We could have made a wrong turn, man.
Yeah. I wish I'd thought about that if I had. But man, that was a cool time. It was a cool place. I love Daytona. Daytona is a great track.
Dale Earnhardt actually won the pole that year. Did not win the race though.
He won the pole for that race, but Jeff Gordon won the race. Yeah,
that's exactly right. Yes, sir. Mm-hmm. So, well, Sam, that's it, man. That's it for tonight, man. Yeah, that was a good show, man. We had a lot to talk about.
Glad you're back, man. It's we've got to have you pushing the buttons. I'm just here for the cute and the ha. So
I hear you, man.
That's what I do.
It's good to have everybody back, man. We're continuing our show next week, guys. We're going to do a Super Bowl show and all that good stuff, man. But,
I'll go through my entire menu for Super Bowl Sunday for you. I've got a stacked one. You'll be fat. You'll have diabetes. You'll have high blood pressure after
guys,
eating.
Go to Motion Sports. Go to Motion Sports Network on YouTube. Hit subscribe for us. Check us out on Roku, Amazon Fire, and all that good stuff, man. All the stuff, all our social media
down there.
On the bottom,
right
down there, and hit us up, man. Y'all take care. Have a great night. Thanks for joining.
See you next week.